Palpitations are very common and many people feel them. I can't hide that sometimes I feel palpitations too. And the good news is that the vast majority of the times palpitations are not dangerous at all. Uh, the most common reason why somebody feels palpitations is the awareness of their own heartbeat, especially when we are not distracted by doing other things and we are sat down like this. We might be aware of our heartbeat um, and actually hear it in our ears, for example. Or sometimes we can have an extra heartbeat, which is entirely normal. Every human being has got a number of extra heartbeat during the day, and we would feel the pause after the extra heartbeat because the heart slows down ever so slightly after an extra heartbeat, and in actual fact, we feel the beat after the extra one. The other common reasons, apart from being aware of our own heartbeat, is heart going a little bit faster, or when our blood pressure goes a bit high, and in that case, we can actually feel the force of the heart beating and ejecting more blood. But again, most of the times it's not dangerous, and I will explain why and when somebody should worry about palpitations. Palpitations can be entirely normal. For example, let's imagine we're going for a run or for a brisk walk. We would feel our heart going faster. We would consider that palpitations by natural facts that's normal. It's our heart beating faster because the body is consuming more oxygen because we are running, for example, walking fast, and hence the heart has to beat faster. We would feel that. That's normal. It is not normal when the palpitations is associated with dizzy spells or, being lightheaded. That is not entirely normal. In that case, medical help should be sought. Or even worse, if we were to feel about to pass out after palpitations, that's when people should worry about. Or when we feel like our heart racing, like we were running, but we're not running, or we're not doing something that we would expect the heart being going faster. So in that case, that would not be normal, and we would obviously have to seek medical help. Most of the times, palpitations, because they're not triggered by any disease, they actually go on their own, or we actually are not aware anymore of our heartbeat, and we don't actually feel the palpitations as such. So if the palpitations are caused by a natural cause, and not a disease, that they would go normally. Or if we have too many extra heartbeats, which is sometimes can be the case, again, it might not be dangerous. However, we should be aware that energy drinks or caffeine, or even some food, which I'm going to talk about later, can actually trigger extra heartbeats, and in that case, we should be careful and in consuming that kind of food and drinks, so that we can ensure that our heart doesn't get too many extra heartbeats and we don't feel the palpitations anymore. And again, extra heartbeats are normal. However, if they are associated with symptoms like chest pain or feeling dizzy, lightheaded, or feeling particularly short of breath, then in that case, we should not consider them normal, and we should investigate them and see if can be reassured or something needs treating. Palpitations are quite common after eating. We should understand that there is a variety of food and drinks that can actually trigger palpitations. We might not even be aware of High sugar itself or sugary food can actually give the sugar rush and can trigger a heart going a little bit faster, for example, or there are there is food that is processed, like the packaged food or the canned food that contain respectively glutamate or high content of salt in the form of sodium. And in that case, that can actually make the heart go a little bit faster, especially if we are sensitive to this substance called glutamate that is a flavor enhancer. The sodium instead can cause water retention and the heart kind of feels a little bit more, the blood pressure goes high, and then we will feel the palpitation after eating. Or the common no caffeine that can, it's an energy drink, obviously can make the heart go a bit faster, or even if in excess cause high heart rate. Alcohol can cause palpitations, and especially in certain age groups like older than 30, 40 years old, it can cause a heart rhythm problem, which is called atrial fibrillation, and in that case, a palpitation in the form of an irregular heart rhythm is not normal and needs attention. And atrial fibrillation with irregular heart rhythm, the person would feel the heart essentially just beating not at a regular pace. And finally, unfortunately, I'm going to say that sometimes people can be sensitive to chocolate because it contains a substance called theobromine, which can occasionally make the heart going faster or cause more extra heartbeats. Palpitations most of the time are benign, not dangerous. They will not lead to heart attack itself. However, if palpitations are quite bad in the sense that the person feels quite unwell, lightheaded, or nauseous, or with chest pain or tightness, or even shortness of breath, or even worse, might have passed out, that could be a sign that the heart is suffering and there might be a problem with the arteries of the heart, which could be a sign of a heart attack. So palpitations will not cause it, but they might be a sign of, especially when they are associated with all the symptoms that I mentioned before. But as I said, most of the times they are not dangerous.